You're listening to the Out of the Box podcast with Timmy, Halisa, and Sinosure.
Um, Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're having a nice weekend. And then, of course, we are back on Out of the Box today, and the conversation is going to be about education again. And then, of course, we are going to have to espouse a lot of ideas today. Joining me to usher in this impressive conversation, like I already believe it would be, is Duo Timi Daudu of Lagos. And then, of course, my friend Alima Isa, even though we have got something to settle, I'm not going to sheath my sword until we settle that. So, welcome on the show, guys. Let's hear from you.
You need to introduce me well. Like you
Yeah.
can say carpenter Halima, or you say plumber Halima, because that's what we're about to do now. We're trying to get technical skill because why do you have to go to school and read books?
I
So
was, I was, I was going to say offender Alima Isa because you offended me today. I caught my game.
you can say carpenter or what's this thing now? Or plumber. You can just pick anyone anyways. That's how you introduce me correctly. Hello people. Hi.
Okay, somewhat like the YouTube template, right? I ain't doing that, mama. I've got to stay
Hey
on the
Okay.
guys,
boss.
Exactly.
welcome back to my YouTube channel.
Thank you. Thank you.
But
Yes.
let me ask, ladies and gentlemen, when exactly are you guys going to introduce yourself? Let's hear from you.
Who are you
Who?
hearing from again? Now they'll think we have guests. We are
Who are
our
you?
host
Alima,
and our guest.
Alima Isa, can we hear from you? Can we meet you?
All right. Thank you for joining us again. Yes, my name. Let's stop playing. We're about to discuss something very serious, but I think we're just pondering over it. We're stuttering a little bit because we are thinking this topic because we've highlighted it somehow in a conversation we had previously, but it's something we had to go back to again because we've been seeing a lot of new information surrounding the price or the cost of tuition, right? So yes, that's why we're here
But
today to talk about education again.
chill. I think I've got to educate you. Let me educate you. That's something we hear a lot while we're in the university. When people want to get on your matter and they perhaps want to get on your nerves, they're gonna go, hey, yo. It seems you do not understand what you're saying. Let me educate you right now.
On
Okay.
on Twitter. On Twitter. Twitter is your ignorant.
Oh, okay. So, and then the person who is trying to educate you, right? You're now like, okay, you're paying attention, paying keen attention. Okay, let me hear what this guy want to say. Maybe it's going to be the kind of engagement that would help my view, my perception of the subject, that will enlighten me generally. And then the person goes into a deep abyss of ignorance and keeps
and
digging,
then
and then
quotes
you are
and then
waiting.
quotes Wikipedia.
Yeah, and then the person goes, Wikipedia is the best way to go about this, and said, "Oh, Wikipedia said." I said, "Yo, calm down. I can go edit Wikipedia right now. You don't even know. Maybe I am an editor on Wikipedia. I can go edit Wikipedia and drop whatever I want to drop there, and then there you are,
The
picking
interesting one
Wikipedia."
now is even like Chat GPT to the conspiracy. These days I've been trying to Google all those things because I've been hearing it and I haven't paid attention. And then I went to say, okay, what is a woman? And I was like, wow, this is serious. And then I went again, what is socialism? I was like, wow, this is actually impressive. Everywhere, left, right, and center, you have to be
No,
critical about things.
one crazy thing that I would say, and I would like to go back to do it to me after I'm done saying this, is that we are in a state where people don't even know that whatsoever you are doing, right, with computing, or maybe it artificial intelligence using big data or anything, these things scrape data from some identified database. And then if there are so many ignorant people around using the internet, these things will pick ignorance. I don't know if this makes sense to a lot of people. It's meant to go to somewhere to scrape data to use to meet your request. right? If you, I'm not sure scrape is the word. The guys who are doing the robotics, AI, and all of these things might have a better way of saying it. But it's just going to pick ignorance if ignorance is what is pervasive on the internet. It's not like it has a library somewhere that it goes to pick actual facts from. And in the real sense, we can even still debate what actual facts are. So do it to me. Education, chat
You
GPT.
know, yeah, it's interesting because I've always known this thing for a very long time. Even though I don't say it, but it's privileged information for those that listen to our podcast. You can actually, with the internet, you can actually get up points to back any line of argument, whether it's for or whether it's against, whether you are right or whether you are wrong. So at the end of the day, just like Senator said, you're still, regardless of whatever. Like we can even argue with what is established like facts. We can okay, no, not that we can argue with facts, but we can always question whatsoever has been presented to us. So at the end of the day, critical thinking is still needed. Critical thinking, is still needed. Critical thinking and common sense. I think those two things are really needed. For us to get to the root of every conversation and for us to be able to create a better society. But if it's just
But
about
I
using
thought
the
we had
internet,
like
like
but I thought we had like
yeah, go
universal
ahead.
truths, like this education conversation, right? Leading up until now, I thought it was something that when you say education, people just think education is a right. But now you start hearing but, however, but, and then I was like, oh, I thought this was like common information that there was no room for, in fact, conversations around it. So why are we having conversations around what level of education is important? Or yeah, you can talk. Maybe you can talk about the institution of education. You might say, okay, maybe colleges are too elitist. Colleges are not teaching the right curriculum. Da da da. But education in itself, I never thought it will ever come to a place where we'll be arguing if it's a right or not, or if it's a, yeah, like, like you said, like
Yep.
if you want to argue around education not being a right, you would see so much information about it on the internet. You can back it up with
Exactly.
data if you wanted
Exactly.
to.
May I may
Yeah.
I
and
may
and
I
why
say
why you're saying that is why you're saying that is that people what the reason why you're saying that before the reason why before you will not hear any argument was that before none of us had actually crossed that bridge. The bridge was just there and everybody was so eager to cross it. But now that some people have been blessed, to be able to cross that bridge, they now want to burn down that bridge for other people. So that's why you are hearing this argument. I bet you 40 years ago, Nigeria, you would never hear this argument, anywhere. But just because some people, have crossed that bridge, they now feel like, it's something that they can actually just, cut it off for other people without actually considering the consequences. And that's something that you see in our society a lot.
yeah. Without digressing, really, I was going to ask. Our Lisa pointed out the fact that it's universal truth that education is a right. You are tilting more towards the absolute view or absolutism view of life, really, because like the Nigerian constitution does not inherently define it as a right. Education across all level. Very importantly, let's emphasize that. Nigerian constitution is saying where practicable. That is, there is a modification to the entire clause that people should have access to education or statement that people should have access to education by putting where it is applicable. So where it is applicable literally
Access
take
to free education, where is it not access to free education, where the free there or not?
the yeah, the free, yeah. Where it
Yeah,
is
yes.
practicable. Then the conversation now
Yes.
goes a little bit further, right? Are fingers equal? No. Fingers equal in the sense of do people have the same kind of resources? So if it goes from being free to not being free, then it inherently means that not everybody will have access to it. Access in this word, in this sense, I think should be the word as opposed to just using right in that vague way. I don't know. Let me explain this way. Like if you say, okay, free and compulsory education, right? You identify that it is something that is completely important for everyone to have. But in the case where you are now saying where practicable, then you literally might be jettisoning access, which means you are not in the real sense giving people the right to access education when they don't have money. So, I mean, that's something we might want to discuss. And it's going towards, tilting towards the absolutist view of life as opposed to the relativist kind of view of life. And we discussed that a lot whenever we're doing philosophy and all of these things, ethical
Yes,
philosophy
yes.
particularly.
But the thing is, when sometimes when you come off with this idea, you kind of have to water it down to suit some narratives. And I think I'm kind of tired doing that, honestly. There are just some things that are truths. They are the truth. I can't, because there's no way, even a child, you have to teach the child how to talk. Like, you cannot say, okay, let's debate if this child needs to learn how to talk or not. How is that up for debate? You might want to debate, okay, what is this child supposed to say? Should this child be using this type of curse word or not? You could say that, but there are some things that we are debating these days, and I feel like it's even pushing me to be a lot more absolutist, like you say, in the sense that I'm looking at it like, why are we throwing this thing up for debate? Because I'm seeing maybe the effect of those things. It's like, when we start debating this thing, where does it lead us to? So yes, I would debate it if it was going to lead us to somewhere, but I'm not going to debate it if we're not debating around curriculum, if we're not debating around what's it called, institution, because there's a lot of problems with educational institutions, like everywhere around the world. Like, it's a big topic. It's almost like we've not even gotten there to discuss how problematic the institution of education is. But we cannot now like talk about education in that way, that yeah, people should just go and learn plumbing, or yeah, plumbing, carpentry, and all those things. Not like they are not good. Like me, I've said it, there's a way those things can be, in fact, if you go to other climes, climes, I hate that word. If you go to other climes, you see how, how
Just
there's
say it.
dignity.
Just say it. Just say it.
Yeah,
Say
that's the
Sinner
thing.
climbed.
But,
If you go to Sena
Alisa,
climes, uh
Alisa, let me
yeah,
refund the penny I took for your thoughts and come back to you later. And
of course.
I would like to come back to you, of course, and pay back the penny for your thoughts. But I want to go to Dorothy quickly to take his perspective on the subject matter for today. You know, we are saying education, a luxury. Really? Like literally saying, okay, how on earth are you presupposing that education should be a luxury? You understand? So, do to me, what is your perspective on this subject matter before we drill down into the meat of the matter?
See, but for me, when we say education is a luxury, or when some people say education is a luxury, let's leave education out of it so that we can now drop emotions. Let's focus on the word luxury. Now, let's imagine everything. I just want, like, all of us just like imagine everything that in our lives that we consider as luxury. And this thing will mean different things for different people that have different levels of income, right? Now, just imagine everything that you think about that is luxury to you. So, if you imagine that now compare that with education. So, you're telling me like expensive cars, like education should be placed or university because this thing is even. I know we will still get into like we'll get down to the roots of this matter because we have a lot of confusion everywhere. People say I don't want to get into all that. I think we'll still get into that later. But when you compare all of this luxury that you can do without in life to education, something that something that is essential, you know, for human development, for development of the world, to even save the world, and you say that's a luxury. I mean, that's funny to me. It's absolutely funny, So I think we're still going to get into this conversation. Is going to be a lengthy one, but that's my own simple thoughts for now, as simple as I can put it.
Interesting.
I mean, very interesting, isn't it? So, I was going to also take your own perspective as well. And then, of course, I know you were talking about the fact that, oh, it should be a universal thing, that education, as a matter of fact, should be a right, like an obligation that the government owes to its citizen, if I'm not mistaken. right?
Yes,
So
yes, but
can you
do you know
little
what
more?
I just actually thought right now? It's not a fully fledged thought, but I think that education is indeed a luxury. Do you know how parents, like, do you know what people go through to make sure their kids go to school? You will not compare that with a luxury bag. Like, you will not compare that with a Birkin. You will not compare that to a vacation. People give up all of that to put their people through school. So indeed, education is a luxury, but I think that in the concept at which people say it, like it's quite different, right? People say education is a luxury, meaning that it's not something you should attain or you should struggle to get. But people's parents, I think there's multiple of Nigerians, maybe even middle class. There's a thing even in like in the world where people say, Nigerian parents, they just wanted to be doctor or and lawyer, or like people literally put their parents make sure it's their life goal to make sure their kids go to school, right? So I think that y- yes, it's a luxury. I probably never thought about it like this before. Like, yes, it's a luxury because yes, it's something, but then people don't see it from the perspective of it's something that
Now you have broken Sinosho's heart fully.
Oh,
it's
really? I
it's
expect
something
everything.
that it's but when they say it like that,
Yes,
they're saying it as if
Sinosho went. We went. Education is luxury. Sinosho went silent. Like
Well, no, I was going to allow a view, and just like I
no, they're
allowed you
seeing
as
it.
well.
They're seeing it as something like it's luxury. Like it's like okay, it's a Chanel bag. Like why would you want to chase it? It's materialistic, right? It's not materialistic. It's just something that literally, like there are villages that they'll come together to send one child to school, right? So yeah, like because it's so precious. So if you want to say precious things, if you want to equate precious things to luxury, then yes, it's a luxury. I mean, if you get this, you might not see it as a very watered down conversation. If not, it is what it is. But
I,
if I
I
want to
beg,
start like that,
I actually beg to quickly chip in and say to you that if you use the word luxury, it might be too vague. I'm not sure if I'm right, but I believe you guys will call me to order if I'm out of line. Because at the end of the day, the motive, the rationale behind people suggesting that it is a luxury is more about access to it. It's not about the benefit itself to the people that are educated. People are literally saying you may decide not to be educated, right? It is not some things. And if you now look at it closely, right, and you figure that the word luxury itself, right, has a Latin origin. I think the word is luxus or something in Latin, which suggests when something is in surplus, right? Like it is an add-on and not necessarily a core or basic thing that you must have in life. That's what most people who paint the picture of luxury are looking at. I don't know, maybe this makes sense, but in the real sense, it's a core thing at the heart of everything we are doing. And mind you, they said anybody who thinks education is costly should try ignorance. A lot of people will use that quote to just anyhow and then mix things up. But what I can think when you look at education as a process of taking skills, knowledge, learning a lot of life developmental skills and acquiring knowledge, all of these things combined together, is that you take education, right? You take it away from the people. You think they will bear the cost of the ignorance. No, the society will. Because a person does not exist really in a vacuum. I don't know, maybe this makes sense. So if it is indeed a luxury, from the perspective of the arguments that I've heard on this subject, it's more about, oh, why should government be funding it? It's a luxury. People should be able to fund themselves. What if they cannot fund themselves? Oh, they will bear the cost of the ignorance. Oh, they will be poor, yeah? What does a poor person does to a society? We are as rich as the poorest person amongst us. I don't know, maybe this makes sense. I'm just trying to explore the word that Alisa has opened with that statement, like, oh, it is indeed a luxury. Oh, if you say, okay, based on the benefit it gives to people, right, you're seeing it as something that is very important to their life. You can use luxury in that sense. But if you are changing it back to where the I mean, bringing it back into the basket, which is a context within which this topic had come up or came up, then you will see that the conversation is more about access. People are saying affordability. Oh, it should be the problem of the people because it is a luxury. You all must not get educated. So I'm just saying it that way, and then we start rearing people that will be a ready-made market, or let me say, a ready-made labor pool for terrorists, for insurrectionists, for people who wants to destabilize society, for people who wants to do election stealing, election rigging, election manipulation, for people who want to unleash mayhem in the society, for people who want to terrorize. I
So
mean,
do you think
So
it's
do you think that is an
contradictory to say that?
intentional?
Do, o- okay, do you think it's contradictory to say that it's a luxury, but then I mean, it's a right, even though it's a luxury? I mean, it's a luxury. Do you think those statements contradict one another?
I think
Is human rights something that has to just be um it's is human rights completely like parallel to survive any survival tool? Say for example, education, health, those things we consider, we don't even want to gamble with them, which I'm completely 100% for. But then it's like I think that it's just as if there are some other things, there are some other rights that when you talk about it, people will just say, yeah, this is not dire. It's not dire to human being. People will not, die if they don't get this. So you can't really say it's a human right worth fighting for or something like that.
I know where you are going to, and I will not join you on that road. I have spent I have spent the latter chunk of my day trying to tell people that there is no discrimination when it comes to the right of people. Right? Anybody whose right is being trampled needs to be supported to ensure that that situation is corrected. And it is the same with education as well. The people's right to education must not be denied them. Because if you deny them, right, we will not be in a very good place rationally, right, to administer justice to them when they become a menace to the society. We know, I don't know how you leave a child to rot and then you turn back and start punishing the child for the rot. I'm not sure. Am I communicating? Because it seemed
Yeah,
to me like
yeah. Me, I like the human psyche. I think human beings are very complex and it's interesting, right? But when I explore these topics, is because I try sometimes to not explore things just from my own perspective. And when I do it, it's like I'm doing a simulation in my mind so that I'll be able to have a conversation with somebody that is a non-believer, so to say. So if I'm having conversation with somebody that I said, okay, education is a luxury, what I'll be like, yeah, I mean, it's a luxury, and then I will tell you why it's a luxury, and then you might also see the point why you should be fighting for that thing that is a luxury. Like, if something is such a luxury, doesn't mean that you should not fight for it. If something is such a secondary need, it doesn't mean you should not stand up for it. You know, Y- yeah. So that's just maybe why I'm trying to say, because it's like it might sound contradictory when someone says, "Okay, this thing is a right," and then someone now says like, "Oh, but it's a luxury." It's like, okay, all right. I don't know if people will be able to follow. Let's just get try to be please take away the conversation from here.
we too will go
Yeah.
school now. Isn't that what we're saying? Some of us went to
Oh
school.
my god. Yeah, yeah, go ahead, please.
So, I'll just say that I think we should now break it down. Take out the next few minutes to just break it down. Because the people who are actually making most of these arguments, out there now, are doing so on the premise of the government or claims that the government cannot fund education in Nigeria. And what they are saying they want to do is to totally hands off, federal university level of education, and they're saying they want to focus on primary and secondary education before tertiary, right? And that's what they want to do, because they can no longer fund it. They say they've been subsidizing it for too long, and they want to now make it leave it to allow the price go high so that the schools can actually be better and they can be run by themselves and they can sustain themselves, but what we've also seen is that recently, even secondary school fees, in the unity schools were even increased. So, which means that even coming down, because to be honest, after having this conversation with a lot of people, why in a democracy, right? We are in a democracy. So, um, after having this conversation with a whole lot of people, and you see people touting these ideas because the candidates that they supported in the last election, you know, are notorious for throwing out these things like, oh, we can actually fund education and everything, and they are repeating and re-echoing these things. So, and what they said is that, oh, what they've been saying is, let's fund secondary school, let's fund primary school. People don't necessarily need to get to university. So I want to, I'm going to throw this question back to Sinoshaw and Hali. I have my own views about university education, but how important is university education? And do you think that, because I don't want this to be like we're demonizing people from going into vocational schools and everything, because it's just like that student loan. At least I don't know if you can remember that they now started guilt tripping people to an extent that you feel like you don't even know who the poor people are. Even someone like me that has lived amongst poor people, and by the official data of the country, I'm still one of the poor people that is faced with multidimensional poverty. They'll not make you start gaslighting you. That don't you know that there are some people that are the poorest of the poor of the poor? So
Yeah.
how important is university education,
Hmm.
for our society? Because of the arguments that people are making. I just
Yeah.
wanted, hear
Through
from
to
you
me,
there.
remember we've had this conversation and we keep on having it, but this conversation is one that can never get old except if there's a solution, right? So yes, now we've come to a point where we have to talk about it because there's like, did they say 600% increase in like the school fees for is it Unilag and some other universities like that? There's Unity schools too, like you mentioned, they've increased school fees. So now we're coming to a point where it's like the education has to be for people that can afford it, or people that can afford it, right? So yeah, that being said, that is that on that. But the conversation of if university is important, I would say it is best to have a narrative that it is important. So for me personally, because me, I feel like all I could do, I did not have that much choice. So the thing is, it's not as if I could play basketball that well, I would have a field to go and play on, and I'll be able to go and join some professional league or do something, right? There was no room for me to say, okay, maybe I can play piano or something. Okay, let me do piano, and let me do classic music. Let me go to Russia. Oh, Russia. And go and learn classic music or something like that. So it's like in Nigeria right now, if you want to talk about just generally, as a general conversation of if university is important, is very different from asking, is university education important in Nigeria? I would say yes, it is important in Nigeria, because in Nigeria, there's not a lot of options for higher learning, especially in institution wise. We have polytechnic, we have school of
Yeah.
education, but I don't know that we have other options for people to learn from. People will now be bringing the argument that yeah, it's not everybody that graduates from university that gets the right education, that gets employed. I know, but it's better than people that not going at all, right? So for Nigeria, and
Yeah.
in the case of Nigeria, oh, it is very important. The conversation should be around how to make that education quality enough, not to say should it be taken away or not, like yes or no. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
how
because
I see it.
my argument concerning this is, the world is moving forward. To be honest, the world is actually moving forward. And before, to be honest, the only place where you could get some certain kind of information or knowledge was actually in these universities. The world is moving forward, and there are places where you can learn, but at the same time, there are so many of this and you see, it should now be an, like, my entire argument is that if people don't want to go to university, right, it should be optional. It should be, I'm opting out, not because I don't have money, like, oh, there's no finance, oh, my parents are poor, and even though I have the best brains in the world for medicine, for this, for that, because there are some courses that are still going to require this regular classroom setup. There's no way you can take it out, you know. Even some of the free courses that are being put online are being organized by some of the reputable universities that we have in the world. So despite the fact that we can make that argument, and you know, even though I'm for all that, when I hear, I don't know if this happens to you, but when I hear some certain people who are trying to push a particular agenda start saying some of those things, I know, yeah, I know people can learn online, but don't let me hear it from you, because I know that your agenda is just to underfund these universities and make sure that people don't go there. Because the children of our politicians in Nigeria are getting the best education in the world. They're going out. If education is not so important, why don't we like actually see them, actually going,
Not
sending their
going.
children to learn plumbing and all of the, yes.
Exactly.
So I feel like it might be like you said, it's better to maintain that narrative of the importance, so that anybody that is opting out would have a strong, and for you to opt out or voluntarily opt out of university education, you must actually have a very strong conviction that you can actually get things done without that in your life. Do you understand? But it should not be as a result of money. It should not be as a result
Exactly.
of coming
That's
from a poor
the main
background.
point.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know,
That's the
yeah,
main point. It shouldn't be a
so
case of, yeah, yeah, you don't have money, that's why you cannot go. That's not supposed to be the point. It should be like, okay,
exactly,
yes,
exactly.
exactly. I agree.
I guess it
A
makes
poor
sense now that you
background,
guys.
a poor background.
I guess it makes sense now that you guys
Yeah,
are
as I
aligned.
was going to say this one last thing.
Welcome home. Welcome
A
home.
poor background, yeah, a poor background should never determine your career choice. Your sorry, your the financial status of your family should never, and in a country like Nigeria, that we are blessed with resources, we are blessed with everything that it takes to make us a great country. I do not feel like the financial status of your parents or your guardians or yourself should determine the career choice which you. So if I love to, I love, fixing the toilet anytime it's broken, or I love to repair stuff and everything, that's a different thing from, oh, I am broke, so that's the reason why I can't get into school to learn this thing. And that is where I have strong disagreement with these guys. But let me say this also, that if because at the end of the day, there's a ruling party that has actually been elected in Nigeria, right? And for now, they hold the power, except the people want to take that power back, but they hold the power. So instead of arguing and arguing and arguing, I said, okay, you know what? If you're going to give us beautiful foundational education, which I consider the first 9 years, from primary to the first 3 years in secondary school, to be the foundational education. It's very important. If you're going to give me world standard, not the type that we do, like world standard education on that level, and this came after a lot of depression and thinking, I don't have the power. If I had the power, I'll have said, let's go all the way, university, even beyond that level, but now that I don't have the power, if you're going to make the secondary education as good, as great, as beautiful, imagine children in classes, using laptops, like everything. There's internet connection. They have digital boards, not chalk and slates. They have digital boards, a wonderful classroom setup, a place where they can learn even skills that are required in life, modern skills, and they can actually use that. You can actually graduate from secondary school and start making a lot of money. I think I could opt for that, but because I know that their agenda is not pure, they are not going to do it. So that's why I cannot submit to some of these ideas. So that's just it for me.
Yes, I know she was
Welcome
going to
home.
say something.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was gonna say. Welcome home. Because I was thinking of myself like, okay, Sinusha, yeah, Ayodeji, yeah, oh, this thing you are doing, does it seem like you are, I mean, it seemed to me like you're mad, because it seems nobody is buying into the whole narrative of saying, oh, okay, the people must, I mean, I think also I may need to push this. We should stop the idea of saying right in that sense. We should say the government owes the people the obligation. especially in a country like ours, where there is a tertiary education trust fund, right? For instance, wherein the companies in Nigeria pay about 2% of their profit every year in tax to us, right? So literally, all of these things, all of these things pushes the responsibility exclusively back to the government. Maybe state, maybe federal, maybe local government. I do not intend to start arguing who and who. Government in itself should correct any anomaly that exists in the system. And when you are done correcting that, you earn money on our behalf, this tax. You earn money on our behalf, this the mineral resources deposits that we have in abundance. So I wonder when people now come back to me and tell me, "Oh, they cannot do it." What exactly have you been doing with our money? You are not meeting health. You are not meeting education. You are not meeting infrastructure. What we are just saying is politicians' life getting better and the Nigerian people's life getting worse. So how exactly do you want me in good faith to come and negotiate with you? Maybe you fund education or not. Fund it or get out. So I want to make the narrative such that we are talking about obligation of the government to the people. Like something they must oblige the people. Education being one of those things. I don't know, maybe this makes sense, but the narration is education is not a loss of it the way they are making it look. I'm saying loss of it like a Yoruba boy now. Loss of it like they might want to make it look. Because the point is, people who want orderliness in their society, right? They prioritize the curriculum that they teach. People who want development in their society, they prioritize the skills that are included in the curriculum. People who want progress, they prioritize teaching social interaction, social evolution, so that their people will be in a good frame of mind to analyze per time the state that their country is and know what to do to support such country. And I have said over time, most of us that we are talking here, we did not receive any kind of special education from the people, from the one, I mean, like we were in the same school with people. But if there is any special education that we have received, it's because we decided to take it a notch higher and self taught or self teach, as the case may be. So now the conversation is not like if people don't know, like they say, oh, Dangote hired 11,000 people that are not Nigerians. Oh, why are they not hiring Nigerians? Do you know the argument Dangote can give now? He may not be able to give them if we are focused on educating our people compulsorily and making sure that it is the best quality that goes out there. Dangote could have gone to a technical school in Nigeria to go pick anybody to fill that role, right? And what exactly is also happening with our labor laws? I don't want to be a guy that can do financial modeling, do financial analysis, do all of these stuff, and then at the end of the day, I get somebody from UK coming to help me in the unit to do something about that. I would say, "Oh, yo, guy." In my mind, I may not say it out loud, but I would say, "Why is this guy doing financial analysis? Does it mean I cannot do it, or does it mean I'm seen as somebody who is unworthy?" So all of those things are the conversations we must bring to the fore. But education is indeed not because
Nigeria has had oil since 1950, right? When they discovered oil, and we don't have skilled enough people to. It's
I think we
the
actually discovered
embarrassment.
oil before 1920.
I think okay, commercial
We discovered oil
okay,
before
whatever.
1920.
Yeah, oil was
Because I saw
discovered before
1950, but
1920. Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe that was when Shell started their operation or something like that. But
I think
eh,
I think that 1960 era coincided with when they discovered the oil at Oloibiri in Bayelsa State,
yeah, yeah, yes, I think
which
that's
happens
the
to
one I
be
saw.
the best commercial quantity that they've ever encountered. So literally, that's why people pin it there. But we have had
Mhm.
oil and gas firm come to Nigeria before the 1930s.
And
It wasn't
Nigeria
a success.
has not taken the initiative. This is the education we are talking about. They've not taken. Yes, they say they have Niger Delta University, right? Is the
Yeah.
course the only course they teach there? Is it just purely based on petroleum studies or petroleum sciences and all of that? So
Oh
no, I'm
Lord.
just trying to say it's today. I did not want to participate so much in that conversation because when I begin to get like too wrapped up in the emotion of how of the uselessness, like I don't even want to get into it. Like we have not been able to Even if you gave birth to a child in the 2000s, right, and you trained that child at this right now, that child will be 23. That person should be able to work in the Dangote refinery as an engineer if they were serious. If they started in 1999, those people are supposed to be skilled enough. So you want to tell me we did not know that we're going to come to a place where we'll be needing engineers? They should have been. Well, yeah. Let me know. Yeah.
You know what I would
Anyways,
suggest to you? You know what I would suggest to you? Right? It is for you to now help bring solution to the fore. I mean, we can have all of these conversations till tomorrow, we can brief till tomorrow, but one very important thing is our problems will not answer to our grief. It will only answer to how dispassionately we are able to attack it. Problems are supposed to be hydra headed in this kind of nature.
don't you think we have one of the most educated we are one of the most educated generation that have come out of Nigeria? Like, I want to think that logically you think that we are the the most educated.
That,
See, I'm not
that part,
convinced.
yeah,
But
that part, that part you are taking, that path you are taking, eh, it's not an uncharted territory, but you will get your legs burned. We are not the most educated. We are not the most educated generation. We are even the most badly educated generation. There used to be a time
No,
when high school graduates, modern school
Sinosho,
graduates,
are we mixing up? Are we mixing up different concepts? Because I've tried to separate the concept of like education with like with like conscience. I don't want to believe that education, any level of I see I've interacted with enough Nigerians. If you are on the Twitter space platform, you will have interacted with enough Nigerians that puts multiple PhDs on their bio, and when you interact with them, you'll be like, it's not, it is okay. No, the reason why I had to just come in is I've said this thing severally. Critical thinking is not available, and I agree with you. That could also be because in you go around some universities in the world, and they would actually allow you to be able to think. Even in as much as even education globally is criticized, but we have a system in Nigeria that shuts down people from day one, from when they are born, from their families to when they go to primary school, secondary school, even universities, where a lecturer tells you you're going to fail my course, this course you will fail it. They shut people down, and anybody that dares to say something counter to what maybe your professor or your lecturer is telling you, you are shut off. So I agree with you, but what I'm trying to say is that we should try and separate the concept of having a conscience from actually getting educated. We have some of the most educated people, defending nonsense, and at the end of the day, it comes down to conscience. They can even they can even decide that even primary education should be expensive in Nigeria. What we are talking about is actually a conversation about conscience, about trying to to
no,
prick
I
people's
don't think we
conscience.
should
Or
module in
yeah,
the morality aspect of it, or the perspective at which people think from. So me, I was going purely for data first before I'll go into the conversation of that, because I was going to come there, because you were talking about solutions, right? And me, I'm thinking, okay, if we're I want to say, but then if you think about it percentage wise, let's say we are about 100 million in 1970s. I don't know the exact data, and you're like, okay, there was 60% literacy, and then you now come now that we are like 220 million, and then you say they are 60% literacy, we have 60% literacy too. It's still, when you do all of those things, it might still show you that we have more uneducated people, right? So what I'm trying to say is like just really purely on the data, because I want to see how we'll get to that solution part. I think that many people, we have people that have gone to school today, have so much education, have several degrees, paying $20,000 for their kids to go to school. You know, remember that person, right? Do it to me, paying so much money for their children to go to school, but they'll come and tell you that the kids of poor people in Nigeria can just live with not going to school. So I'm thinking solution wise, we need to really maybe if it doesn't work for us, but we still need to make sure that it's a conversation around how the importance. We cannot try to start giving all of this subjectivity. We cannot start trying to prove some aspect of why education might not be important. Or no. There are many things that I've decided not to even think too much about, because it's like there's no reason. When you come to the end, there's an obvious answer at the end. If you don't educate Nigerians, we would have problems in Nigeria. The government is not doing anybody a favor by
Exactly.
educating Nigerians. And the government, I've said this thing before, which is also a problem. The government is supposed to be Nigerians being the government. The government is not like supposed to be a separate class from the Nigerian people. That's how it should be. But in Nigeria now, we're having a government that is in a different class from the people, completely detached from the people, which makes it for a big problem. But anyways, when the state decides that they'll prioritize education, they are not doing no man no favor. Like they are doing the state a favor in the long run. So I don't know if we ourselves can bring little solutions here and there, with the assumption that the government does not know about
Yeah.
these solutions. But it's not as if the,
So
the thing is,
you
we've been
know,
having conversations like the government know the solutions, but it's almost like a conscious decision for them to defund education. Why are they doing that? Like, yes, we can
yeah,
tell them, yeah, build
because they
more
want their
schools.
children to
But
lead you.
do you think that these people don't know they should build more schools? Right. So that's why when they come to the conversation around solutions to education, I'll be looking like, do these people not know these things? Are we? So it's like, let's not be confused that these people don't know these things, because it kind of seems very deliberate at this point. But that's just
No, no,
go
no. I get,
ahead.
I get,
So
I get you.
I think
If they are
okay,
big, pardon me, if they are big, if anybody is big on the idea that they don't know what they are doing, now ask the person, why are they sending their kids to UK and US? They know what they are doing.
exactly.
Literally, they are just preparing a fertile ground to perpetuate their dynasty. And I am somebody who actually have a lot of thinking going on around the Nigerian situation. And one of the things that bothers me all the time, right, ladies and gentlemen, it is the fact that when you look closely at it, like Duotmi was trying to make it earlier, Duotmi was almost going towards a path whereby he will be making excuses for some people who are intentionally mischievous. When you say conscience, it takes education for your conscience to work. Conscience works with information. You will see in some ages, right, they are killing twins, and some people's conscience are unbothered. Why? Because they see it as a normalcy within their society. So that's why I don't like to mix that part of conscience with the conversation. You can have a PhD, you might have passed your Viva, but you might not have an analytical mindset so much that the information that is even before you, you're unable to use it. That's why I'm telling people, like, I can't vote most of these guys that I'm saying. Why? Because their kind of governance does not provide solution to a Nigeria, towards actualize achieving a Nigeria that can support in the quest to liberate the black race. And people will be like, what do you even mean? Oh, monetary policy. No, dude, nobody's talking about monetary or fiscal policy. I don't care about those things as a first point of call. I care about the things that comes before those, the thought of the people that are performing this fiscal and monetary policy. If the thoughts are properly aligned, right? They have education. Oh, the best business schools. Oh, the best this school, the best that school, the wonderful Lagos Business School, the wonderful Harvard Business School, the wonderful Yale, the wonderful Stanford. But you know what they don't have? They don't have an understanding of how an economy that is not US and UK works. So they come here, they provide a UK and US kind of solution to a Nigerian problem. You can say they are learned, but they are not educated, because at the end of the day, education speaks beyond the letter. It goes into understanding the spirit behind the letter. I say spirit in the sense of rationale behind the letters. I don't know if this makes sense. That's why some people will read all of the philosophy in this world. I heard one of our brothers speaking. Oh, he was saying all of these things. Very good, articulate, very sound, and all of these things. And then at the end of the day, he said he's a right wing supporter, politician supporter. And I said, why? He said because he believes that the right wing guys must come before the left wing guys. But he forgot that the right wing guys are currently there. Abi? They are currently there. So exactly, when exactly are you as a left wing guy going to realize that they're the one there? So he knows all of the history. He knows the Trotsky history. He knows the what's this Russian guy that Alex has Alex in his name. Had Alex in his name. It's not late. He knows all of this history, but this guy cannot put one or two together and arrive at the place that it is the time now to bring a government of the people in, as opposed to the government of the elite. So education in itself, right, should make a PhD holder, if the education is quality really, PhD holder, know analytically things that may not work. That's why they form hypothesis now. They have a null hypothesis. Why? Because they are able to deduce from the current situation of things what they think is obtainable. So they now go to the field, collect data to verify that null hypothesis, maybe it's correct or not. And then it brings us to the conversation of the alternative hypothesis. In academia, every and see, I would also like to tell our listeners all of those things that people tell you, oh, theory makes this world work. There's no practicality without theory. It is your schools that you should get right. So that whenever they are telling you theory, they can relate it to the practical nature of it. I don't know, maybe you guys are getting me. When somebody says, oh, theory, they are just teaching theory, they are not teaching practical,
Yeah,
you
you're
calm down.
not. Okay, okay. Yeah.
You need to calm down. You cannot go in the real sense and say, "Oh, there's practice without theory." Theory governs, guides practices. It provides the framework within which practice can work. If I say, "Oh, the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded," it doesn't mean it will always work in every situation. There are some kind of goods that may not work for. But in the real sense, that is a theory around the demand function. And then if I pick this theory, I know that if I speak like this about Gary, it might be the case that if price rise, demand for Gary might fall. Depending also on the income level in the society, which we now classify the goods. Maybe they are normal goods, maybe they are giving goods, maybe they are this, maybe they are
Until
that.
Gary becomes a luxury, it becomes groceries.
Exactly. When Gary now becomes a luxury, it goes higher, you buy more. Why? Because it is indeed a
Yeah,
luxury.
Sinosure. So one thing that I want us to, I would like to say before this conversation ends is, I think that when we have a problem, we should focus on the problem. As a country, we have become so addicted to this habit of not actually focusing on the issue. We have a corruption problem. We take out subsidy that is helping millions of people. We have this problem. We just cut it off. If you're saying you have a funding problem, because I don't want us to leave this conversation without talking about funding. The arguments the government is making is that they cannot fund this thing. That is what needs to be addressed. Whether education is not important or this thing to people. I think that's it. That's even a totally different conversation. But funding is what needs to be addressed, and the fact is that maybe on another episode of this podcast we might go into ideas, because we can talk about this thing from as you said, Sinosho. We can talk about the problems, but the solutions are what we need to focus on. So I was on
You
a
don't
Twitter
understand
space
what
and
I've
someone
been
was
saying
telling
to
me,
you,
"Oh,
Drew,
we
to me,
can't
and
fund this thing."
you said solution. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. Solution is like we've been talking about solution, but I feel like where I'm at, maybe this is just the personal thing, is where I see the guys that are sometimes even in the government. These guys are very well educated people. I want to think that they have solutions to this problem. Is it from us that what kind of solutions do they want to hear? Like
education.
what kind
That's
of
what I was
solutions
saying
do you think?
previously.
Can you also be like,
Education.
go
Yeah,
ahead?
education and
Mhm.
problem solving are two different things. Many people get through university and they have never taught them anything about problem solving in their lives. So I can actually be uneducated. I can actually be a primary school dropout, but have a solution that will save the lives of PhD holders.
So what kind of
So
solution do you think
that's
that
why
we
I was
should
trying to
propose to
separate it.
education here?
For me, the problem is funding. Let's look for how we can make more money. Let's look for our natural resources, which the time will not be enough if I start speaking about this. Let's look for how we can actually get more money, how we can actually make more money as a country to fund this thing. Let's look for how we can cut the cost of governance. Let's look for how we can fight corruption and channel this money into places like education, so that we don't end up with people that can be bought for 1,000 naira to go and blow up a church or a mosque or a school. Because the more educated you are, the more expensive you would be for people who want to, buy you to perpetrate violence against other people in society. So I think maybe on our next episode we should talk about education funding. If we can even get people that have been in charge of administration of schools, let's know. These guys. I was saying something earlier on today on one conversation, that when you start, Nigerian government is like, the more you look, the less you see. These things are obscure for a reason. So the more you get, the more you try. Okay, how much does it actually take? Let's know what it takes to fund the Nigerian university, and let's see if we compare that, if we remove all of the billions that our politicians are using to buy brand new cars and sponsor themselves and their families, or medical vacation tourism and vacations all across the world. Let's see if we cut all of those things, if we will not be able to fund education. So that's my argument, and I just wanted to put that in before this conversation actually ends. And apologies, I must say one thing, and what I want to say is that for all of those people who are touting the idea that university education is too cheap in Nigeria. So all of them who are espousing those ideas that university education is too cheap in Nigeria, and they graduated from Nigerian public universities, most of them are now doing well all across the world, in Nigeria and overseas. Let them go back. Let them calculate how much education is worth. Let them go to Harvard. Let them go to all of these schools and calculate how much it costs for people to graduate from those universities for the course that they studied. And let them take out of their revenue or their salaries or whatsoever they have and go and pay back the balance. That would help us. That's the best way that we can fund education, the fastest way. You understand? So I just wanted to put that in, and I think that's it for me.
It sounds like a mic drop kind of situation, but that is your own. Let me just say my own, because last now where we talk now we go die, right? But pretty much, right, ladies and gentlemen, I am very sure it's been a wonderful conversation today. But I would also like to take Aliza's thoughts. I think he has not spoken about this solution thing. I'm not sure what's going on at her end, but Alisa, are you there? And I would like to hear from you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Unlike many people, I'm the kind of person that believes that our leaders are actually intelligent. There are many people that thought Buhari is just like one, like, foolish aboki man. I just said, right, right, interesting. Let the people that are smarter and speak in other accents come. Let's see if there's a change. I've been the person that believes that these guys are actually, they know what they're doing, right? I'm one of those people that don't think that they are clueless. So that's why maybe I'm a bit hesitant to say yes, increase funding, do this, do that. That's why I'm a bit hesitant. Maybe it's just where I am at mentally. But yeah, going back to that, it takes me back to the conversation of, yes, let's fund. But now the question is, who is supposed to fund? Right? And I think that's where the conversation sometimes does not get into deeply, and that's where it falls back to ideology, really. Because there are people that think the government are not supposed to fund. There are some people that think that, yeah, maybe if maybe private sectors fund these things, maybe there'll be competition and then the price might drop and all of those things. So that's why I would rather like sit on the side of maybe the ideologies or the principle aspect of it, that this is a state. Let me use someone's words. I think Ifemika, who was on this podcast before, was like, let's distinguish between what's public good and private good. So this is like something that is a public good, is a public asset. So when we come down to that, we'll know that this is the job of the government. This is the job of the society to take education really seriously and fund education. So we'll not be in a place where we are playing third class citizens. So yeah, funding is one of the biggest aspects. Like our schools, we've talked we previously talked about the percentage that is given to education in Nigeria, right? So yeah, like we have people that are at the helm of affairs right now that do not really prioritize the masses or the people, and I think that's where maybe we might also start thinking from, like, prioritize the masses and actually know that this is something that the state should fund. Is not something that some market forces should determine. Yeah, that's just where I'm at.
All right, all right, all right. So
Yeah.
I think we've come to the end of this conversation. Yeah,
Oh,
and you guys can follow us on all social media
we've got to come
platforms.
back. Oh.
If you
We've
look in
got
the
to come back.
description,
We've got to come back.
yeah, we're going to come back definitely. Like, we're definitely going to host, more, because I don't even feel like we exhausted the conversation. I would like us to have like a specific conversation around funding,
Yes, so
and
our
ideas, so
leaders, you
that
guys know what to do. Do what you need to do. If you don't want to do what you need to do, please stop doing those, stop playing all of these things. And I don't even know why anybody would take their excuse that these people don't know what they should do. So how's that my
There is a,
business?
there is a constitutional provision for resignation.
Exact.
If you are tired of the job, resign. Thank you.
Halisa,
Thank
like
you.
sometimes I
Like
just find myself doing so much research, and then you now have to read like a 20-page document. You now start asking yourself, am I in government? Who is paying me for all of these things? So if these guys don't know what to do, let them,
exactly. If you don't know what to do,
but it
but
is
me, I believe that you know
what
what to
to.
do and you are not serving the people because we have been giving you the excuse that you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. You actually know what to do. Like you know what to do. You are just not for the people, and that's why what we need to be looking into and knowing how many times has this person stood up for the people before? One, two, none. Okay, pass. How many times have this person stood up for only the ruling class before? Pass. I think that's just where we need to start benchmarking all of these people from. But yeah, yes, we're done. Thanks for joining us, Abby.
All right, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
You're listening to the Out of the Box podcast with Timmy, Halisa, and Sinosure.